Hello and welcome to another recap video. So I'm gonna go over the whole history of what's happened so far in the story. If you want, you can skip. I'll have timestamps in the comments about where the last session begins and ends. I'll also have a little bit at the end that will kind of describe what happened since last time. That'll give a good I'll give a good transition to the next session. So enjoy. But a bit of backstory first. The kingdom of Swadia did not always exist. In ancient times, it was just the kingdom of Sola. This was ruled by, just like Swadia is now, a group of noblemen, and of course the king and or queen. Na was a princess at one point, and she grew up to be a very vindictive, evil princess who killed her own father and mother to gain power, and she ruled the country with an iron fist. Eventually, war broke out, civil war, and those who wanted to remove themselves from Na's rule ended up leaving over the Midgard Mountains to start their own civilization, the kingdom of Swadia. And back in Sola, this only made things worse for the remaining nobles who stayed behind. Na was, of course, enraged. One time during the Bloody Morning, as it will soon be called, she killed every noble in the castle, leaving the rule solely in her hands. The merchant class at that point hired a group of mercenaries, a group of heroes, to end the terrible rule of Na. These heroes, and a harrowing adventure, killed Na with the legendary Sword of Heroes, ending her reign forever. And thus, the now Sultanate of Sola is ruled more by the merchant class rather than nobility. And so, the terrible rule of Na was ended, but that is not the end. A prophecy was foretold, the second coming of Na, that one day during the eclipse, a girl would be born, a daughter of Na, who would bring about even more destruction in the name of evil. Each player has their own reasons for joining up with the Golden Company, a group of mercenaries who were hired to help the Kingdom of Swadia against the Kingdom of Sola in the latest war between the two factions. It was mostly started, the populace thinks, by a war of expansion on the side of Sola, who invaded the town of Lockwood, held by Lockhart, which is, great naming. Thanks, Alex. That was very good. On the company's first mission, they were the south, near the southern border of Swadia, and led by Captain Dengar, they led a scouting mission where they were ambushed by the heroes of Dragon's Rest, who have joined the cause of Sola. When they were captured, they were told that the war was actually started by secret agents from Swadia who kidnapped the princess of Sola. The princess is supposedly this reincarnation of Na from a prophecy from told long before, that a daughter born during an eclipse, which happened about 20 years ago, would be the second coming of this evil Na. Convinced by the hero's Dragon's Rest and more allured by the promise of more gold, the party decided to join up with Sola and the hero's Dragon's Rest and make their way to Lockwood. However, they were ambushed in the dark forest by a group of unknown assailants, and they were separated from the heroes of Dragon's Rest and made their way alone through the dark forest, where they stumbled upon a mysterious monastery in the middle of nowhere, which gave them shelter for the night. In the monastery, they were met with the tortured screams of a woman, Mia, who was being mistreated by the head of the monastery, Father Dory. His only friend in the monastery, Brother Troy, was soon leaving for the capital, Charcoalheart, and was worried that about Mia's safety with Father Dory left to his devices. So he pleaded with you to take Mia with you Mia put on a brave face even if it is covered in bruises, and she says she will come with you, but there's one thing she needs to do first. She steals a knife from Valentia Stone and confronts Father Dory. The players watch as Mia brutally plunges the dagger in and out of Father Dory's stomach. The players then start a fire in the monastery to cover up their escape, finally making their way to Lockwood, where the occupied town, gloomy and dark, but commerce still reigns. As the players enter the town, they are stopped by the guards who bring them before the commander in charge of the garrison, Lord Riff Stoney, a young lad with years of experience behind his sunken eyes. He says they can either spend the night as prisoners of war, or they can help him with a bit of a bandit issue. The bandit in question is so notorious that both sides of the war have put up a bounty on her head. He shows them a wanted poster of Raven, the bandit queen. Mia's eyes light up when she sees the poster, and the party agrees to take the job. Later, Mia will explain that she recognizes the person from the letters in Father Dory's study. This might be her mother, and she deserves some answers as to why she was abandoned at that monastery. The players then do some cool side quests with a werewolf and a love triangle. In that battle with the werewolf, Saphira's arm starts to glow with a strange symbol, then fades. We'll see more about that later. They make their way to the Three Sons Inn, run by, ironically, three women, because the father and sons were killed in the latest war. There they meet Keith, who is leads them to the bandit camp where they are ambushed again, but handily defeat him. Enter the bandit camp where Raven welcomes them and her daughter with open arms. Suspicious. She says there is much to talk about. When they're alone, she says that yes, Mia is her daughter. Not only that, but Raven is the first wife of King Eamon III of Swadia. And while they were together, they had Mia, which makes Mia the true crown princess for the throne of Swadia. Mia and Raven have a shouting match about why she was abandoning her daughter. Raven says it was to keep her safe. The kingdoms would never let Raven be alone after what she saw, what she heard. She says this war is more than just stolen princesses. There are forces that control every movement of the kingdom from behind the shadows. Not even the Circle of Magi is aware of it. There are sinister forces at play with power beyond their wildest imaginings. She demonstrates some of this power by turning Stone Cold Steve Austin into a bird and then back to a human. She also does this cool portal stuff. She then tells the party that if you want to find the truth about the war, make some money, or if you want to gain some of this power for yourself, you can go to Jackalheart. The Princess Khadija is being held in the tallest tower in Castle Valdemar. And free her, bring her to Raven, and you shall see the truth, gain all that wealth, that power you could desire. The players kind of agree, kind of play it by ear. They are given the fake head of the Bandit Queen to kind of turn in as a reward for the bounty. Raven also tries to explain that the mark on Saphira's arm might be the mark of the Signers, leaders of the Order of Iliaster from long before the Circle of Magi. This order was known for summoning the Crimson Dragon to aid them in restoring peace to the Empire in a time long, long ago, but they disappeared into the annals of history. On the way back to Lockwood, you see the town is now under siege by the Golden Company and the forces of Harold Lockhart and Tongas Gilroy, trying to take back the city. While the forces of Ristoni and Stewart prepare the defenses, they call for aid. Jamel Lockhart is the champion for the Swadia side, but Sola needs a champion. The party does not really want to get involved. They try to hang back and kind of wait and see. However, the battle becomes too large and they are forced to flee toward the capital. At the capital, there's a huge line of refugees who are refused entry to the city by order of Knights Commander Meredith. The players need to find a way into the city. Luckily, a crazy old man gives you a key to the sewers and tells you this is the way into the city. But could you please talk to his grandson for him? Suspicious, but fine. The players agree and they make their way through the labyrinth of sewers where they fight a lizard man riding a Hydra snapping turtle. When the battle gets heated, Saphir's arm begins to glow again. So does the lizard's. You also have a mark, he says, as he flees back underneath the sewer. Making your way through the center of the labyrinth of sewers, you find a nice ornate door. Enter it, and there is a den of thieves. A thieves' guild, one would say. And you are summoned to their leader, Aga, who is a hag of an old woman. She says that you have proven yourself worthy for an important job of making way this far through the sewers, and you do kind of owe her for her letting you into the city, so you have no choice but to accept. You are to make your way to a ball being held in a few days at Castle Valdemar. The ball is to celebrate a victory in the recent Battle of Lockwood, so it turns out Swadia won. There you will find an informant in the kitchen who will give you the call sign, "What do we fight for?" You will answer, "For crown and kingdom." Then you are to do what the informant says at the party. The players agree, and the plan is that Aga will forge invitations for you, and they will dress as nobles and gain access to the party. Before you leave, however, the bodyguard with the Selkath confronts Stone Cold Steve Austin, two orcs who clearly don't see eye to eye, kind of bully each other, and there's a tattoo on Selkath's arm. Tattoo that Stone Cold recognizes, because this is the same symbol he remembers when he was far too young to remember, but scarred forever for life when his mother was killed by what he thought were slavers coming to take more labor, but turns out could be some orc on orc blood. The party finally makes their way out of the sewers into the light, but they are swept away by a big crowd amassing for an execution. The execution of the heroes of Dragon's Rest by the hand of Tongas Gilroy and Knight Commander Meredith. The heroes of Dragon's Rest are pished, tarred, and caught on fire, then hanged. Pretty brutal execution, but the crowd loves it. They do not love, however, when Knight Commander Meredith tells them that the curfew is put into place and big restrictions on trade and such moving in and out of the city. She's booed off stage, but everyone loves Tongas Gilroy for killing those people because this is the medieval times. People love killing. The party tries to make their way into the upper city to acquire their fancy clothes, but Stone Cold Steve Austin does not make it as he gets arrested. The rest of the party tries to free him, but they are waylaid by a bounty hunter named Stabwell, who is looking to collect a bounty on a pharaoh in the party, who seems to be responsible for a botched job to murder one of the Council of Magi member. Stone Cold isn't doing too well himself either, as Selkath paid off the guards to let him into the cell and beat the shit out of him. However, Stone Cold gets the upper hand and beats the shit out of Selkath instead, and is able to walk free. At that moment, the ladies kill Stabwell, and the party rendezvous together and is able to get into the upper city, where they find a much-needed rest. The party then buys their fancy clothes, do a little bit of gambling, a little bit of shopping, and is ready for the ball the next day. Okay, next is the ball, which it does take up a lot of time, so stay with me. As you enter the ball with your nice suits and dresses and are introduced as your aliases you have chosen, there's a lot of people at this bar and a lot of things are going on. Everyone is here except for Lord Eamon Griffin III, who is noticeably absent. Stone Cold uses the guise of weapon smuggler to explain why the party is here in this group of noblemen. He also helps Mariana Turniff, who is being harassed by many suitors. He kind of kicks them out. During the ball, a lesser noble by the name of Levin proposes to the beautiful Kitty Harpia, but she turns him down at a look from her mother, Lady Harpia. Kitty then dances with a lord named Vronsky from the city of Dreshta, who seem to be courting each other. Gilroy's wife, meanwhile, had lost her ring, and you guys helped her find that ring. She flirts with you guys a little bit, and later in the ball, you find her legs up with Vronsky between them, and you're like, oh damn. In the library, it is also revealed by a very drunk Hua Xiang that Tongas Gilroy practically sold his daughter to Hua Xiang to be wed in order to pay his massive debt he's using to fund the war. Stone Cold then does the very noble thing of slamming a turkey leg down Hua Xiang's throat and killing him. The party opens a secret passage in the library where they find the Sword of Heroes, which was used to slay the evil Knot from the prophecy. They also find a letter between one of the servants and Lord Lockhart, and it seems that Lord Lockhart is addicted to a drug called Hellflax. Later on, they also help a chef find his lemons, which were being stolen by a servant in order to feed his family. The players finally meet the informant in the kitchens, who is none other than Princess Ava, Mia's half-sister, and the current owner of the title Princess. They give the sign and countersign. Ava reveals that she is also Ega, just with a whole lot of heavy makeup and hunchback and all that. She needs you. The mission, if you choose to accept it, and you do, is to retrieve the royal seal from her father's personal chambers. Meanwhile, at the party, the Narmina ambassador talks to Pharaoh, and he knows who she is. And he says that he will half the price on her head if she agrees to duel Bolton Gilroy and lose on purpose. She refuses, but either way, Bolton challenges her to a duel to kind of stroke his bravado. The party steps in to try to end this peacefully, but it only emboldens him further. He then tries to duel Stone Cold instead, who of course handily wins, but the ambassador is very disappointed. Then comes Knight Commander Meredith, who offers her hand in a dance. Lentia Stone agrees, and they exchange very cliche chess analogies on the dance floor, and which ends with kind of stuff like, "Are you a pawn or a player in this game?" sort of thing. Then she says, "You might want to check out the Royal Gardens." Then the party makes their way to the Royal Gardens after the dance, and they're like, "Oh, there's a window over there that leads to the Royal Chambers. How convenient. Maybe Knight Commander Meredith is helping us. Or maybe she's not, because you are now ambushed by assassins dispatched to kill you." On them is a letter addressed by Lady Harpia saying that you are not to interfere with today's plans. Kind of suspicious. The party makes their way into the Royal Chambers. There, Alentia Stone also finds a letter in the Magi Ambassador's chambers addressed to her from her long-lost parents, saying they wish to meet in the town of Hamlet. In the Royal Chambers, they also find a naked soldier tied to a bed. He says, through spider torture, that he was hoping to nail Lady Harpia. However, all she did was torture him as well to get information about a coup that Tongas Gilroy is planning. He's been moving troops into the castle all night. Then the players retrieve the royal seal from the Royal Chambers and make their way back to the ballroom. So at this point, we have Lord Tongas Gilroy secretly putting troops in the castle for a coup. We have Lady Harpia who tried to assassinate the party and knows about the coup but is trying to hide it. Knight Commander Meredith, who led the party into a trap on purpose and is taking power. As we've seen before in the party, lords like Lord Borgias is very upset that Knight Commander Meredith keeps taking more and more power for herself. Lady Ava is also there, who's next in line for the father's throne, in charge of the Thieves Guild, and also wants the royal seal. It is now time for the banquet, held inside the royal court. On the raised dais where the king usually sits is the king and his advisors, the council, including Knight Commander Meredith. And the rest of the tables are set up below with huge feasts and gorgeous portions. The Knight Commander Meredith finds you in the crowd as a familiar face. Brother Troy whispers into her ear and points directly at you. "Shoot, you've been found out. If Troy or anyone Who else know why you were here? You're all dead. You need to stop them. So, Catherine, aka Mia, takes you guys to follow Troy as he and Knight Commander Meredith go into a tower. And Knight Commander Meredith continues up the tower while Troy tries to stop you. It is then where Troy kind of confesses his love for Mia and says that she has turned down a very dark path, but there's still time to turn back, to go back to the light, to renounce the evil that is surrounding her, and there is still a nugget of good inside of her, whatever. She looks to the party for more guidance and looks back and slits Troy's throat. The party then makes their way up to the tower, the tallest tower, and Knight Commander Meredith is there barring the way in full armor, saying that it's for the good of the realm. You are not to leave here alive, not with the knowledge that you may have of what is behind this door. A battle ensues in which you are victorious, surprisingly. You then enter the room behind Knight Commander Meredith, and the window's open. The bedsheets are tied together out the window. Khadija, the Princess of Sola, has escaped. And then, with Knight Commander Meredith's dying breath, don't trust a word that thing says, no matter what. It's inhuman, as she then dies on the floor. The party returns to the ballroom, where chaos ensues. The king is dead. Poison, old age, no one knows. Where's Knight Commander Meredith? People throw accusations across the room from every mouth in every direction. Plus, we can check them all. Ava then goes to you, tells you to give her the seal. The party refuses. She accuses them of killing Hua Xiang, but they play it off and everyone keeps yelling at each other. But ultimately, they are arrested because they are a suspect in the murder of the king. And you spend the following night in jail. Last time what happened was you came down from noticing that Khadija has actually left and killing Knight Commander Meredith, and the king is dead. Chaos ensues, and you are actually arrested as a suspect in the killing of the king, and spend the next night in jail. But you guys all get a level up and a long rest. Yay! Everything is totally fine. You guys spend the rest of the campaign in jail. Luckily, the next day, Lord Tongas Gilroy comes to visit you in jail. He remembers the conversation you guys had the other night during the ball. The one about how Swadia needs a stronger leader, one more military-minded to deal with the fronts both in Sola and Narmina. He explains that the moot will be held in 2 weeks, where the next king or queen of Swadia will be crowned. But there's a problem. Lord Griffin is still missing, and without him, the decision could lead to civil war or worse. Tongas tells you he's too busy to play the political game to go himself, but agrees that if you were to go and find Lord Griffin, maybe convince him to vote in favor of Lord Tongas Gilroy, he will free you from the prison and, in fact, knight you in his service. And that's kind of where we're going to pick up next time with that decision. See you next time.